Thing to do is to find our delta x, which is our b minus a over n. So my b is 16, my a is 0 over n, which is 4. So that gives us 4 as our delta x. All right, so if I find my delta x here, I then am going to create my little chart. So I'm starting at 0, left endpoint is first, and then to get to my next endpoint, I am going to add delta x, which is equal to 4. So that is going to give us 4. Add another delta x, we get 8. Add another delta x, get 12. Add the final delta x, and we get 16. So then we have to plug into our function, and again, our function is 5 times x, so we'll plug in our 0, get 5 times 0, and we will get 0. When we take our 5 times 4, we get 20, 5 times 4, we get 40, 12 times 5, we are going to get 60, and then 16 times 5, we get 80. All right, so now to find our left sum, what we are going to do is we are going to have delta x times the first n function values. Because again, if you look at the first interval, your first number is going to be your left endpoint. And that's going to be true for each of these intervals, is the first number is going to be our left endpoint for each respective interval. So this will give us delta x is 4. And then we'll just sum up the first 4 function values. So 0 plus 20 plus 40 plus 60, and you could compute that number, or again on your test, you could just leave it at that. Now for your right sum, you're going to have delta x, and if you look at the first interval, your right endpoint is going to be your last number. So you'll have the last n function values. So you will be adding up the 4 times 20 plus 40 plus 60 plus 80, and that will give you your right sum. All right, now for your lower sum, you are going to have delta x, and then you're going to choose for each interval the smaller value. So if you look at the first interval, 0 to 20, the smaller value is 0. The second interval, the smaller value is 20. The third interval, smaller value is 40. And then the last interval, the smaller value is 60. Now, do you remember you got to put in your delta x, so I'm going to have 4 times this expression. And then the upper sum, I will take 4 times, and then the upper value for each interval. So that's going to be 20 for the first interval, for the second interval 40, for the third interval 60, and for the last interval 80. And you can compute those numbers, or again for your test, I'm fine if you just leave it as an expanded out sum if you forget your calculator.